a flashback video. I did want to go ahead and do a labor and delivery story video about my 4-year-old son, Jax. I am going to be doing a labor and delivery story video about my new baby Sage that will be here within the next month. And he's most likely going to be a C-section. And my first son, Jax, was a vaginal birth. So I figured it'd be cool to do a labor and delivery story on both births to kind of get different perspectives on them. Alright, so my son Jax is currently 4 years old. He was born on January 10th, 2013 at 2:24 a.m. He weighed 7 pounds, 12 ounces, and he was 21 inches long. When I first started this channel, I did make a video about what my experience was like finding out I was pregnant at 18. And I didn't go into detail about what my birth was like with Jax. I pretty much stopped it at when he was born because there's so much detail into this birth that it would have taken like so many minutes to add it onto that video. So I decided that I wanted to go ahead and do a separate video. I am currently 23 years old. My husband is 24 and he is the father for Jax as well as this baby boy. So we have been together since 2011. And we are expecting our second baby boy, Sage, very, very soon, within a month from now. So my delivery with Jax honestly wasn't the best experience. There were some complications with it when he was finally born. Not him, he was fine, but the actual birthing process did have a couple complications. So to start the story, back in December of 2012 is when I did start having some complications with my pregnancy with Jax, like swelling and high blood pressure like I have been having with this pregnancy as well. And it's also when I started seeing a lot of signs of what I now know was early labor. I was extremely uncomfortable that last month, but the labor never progressed past a certain point. When my due date did come around on January 5th, 2013, Jax still hadn't come on his own yet. They gave me a few more days, then they did schedule an induction on January 9th, 2013. I woke up the morning of the 9th very just nervous and very just nauseous feeling that you get when you're nervous because I'd never given birth before. Bill, my mom, and I made our way to the hospital around 7 a.m. is when I had to be there. So I want to say by 6 we had left. My mom had planned on being there until Jax was born, so we did grab all of our bags since we would be staying there, and we made our way to the hospital. They got us into our scheduled delivery room, and it was huge. Like, I had never imagined a labor and delivery room could be this big. Like, it looked like a hotel room. There was a giant window where you could see like the entire downtown area, TV, like it just looked like a giant suite. There was couches, there was so much floor space in there. Like, I was surprised at how big this room was. So I did get changed into the hospital, get a gown, and they got me hooked up to an IV as well as the monitor. The first thing they gave me was some type of pill that they do insert into your vagina to help, I believe, soften your cervix and to kind of basically start labor. My cervix did have no dilation prior to the induction on its own, so no dilation was taking place whatsoever before the induction started. Things started off pretty slowly. It did take a while for me to start actually feeling contractions. When I did start feeling them, it was mainly the tightening and mild cramping, and at first I was like, alright, I got this, I can do this. After a while, they did start getting very painful very, very quickly. I remember by 1 p.m., I was literally bawling my eyes out. Like, I did not expect to be like that upset about it because I'm someone who always had intense pain through like periods and everything. But this was like a whole nother level, and there's no way to prepare yourself for it really if you've never experienced that pain before. I wanted the epidural so badly, but every time they checked me, I was not 4 centimeters dilated yet. I had to be 4 centimeters dilated in order to get the epidural. So for a while, I unfortunately was dilating very slowly, even though the pain was pretty bad. I finally put a request in for an epidural between 3 and 4 centimeters. They finally allowed me to. They were making me wait a while, but they're finally like, alright, I think you're in enough pain, and we'll go ahead and put it in. So I was about 3.5 centimeters dilated. Everything between that and waiting for the epidural to me was so fuzzy. I think a lot of time when you're going through the pain, like, you don't even think about time. You don't think about what's going on, you just think about the pain that you're in. After 4 p.m., I finally got the epidural. That didn't hurt to me at all. What did hurt was having to sit completely still, like hunched over on your stomach as they put the epidural in your back, because you couldn't move because they're sticking a needle in your back. So that to me was the hard part, but the actual needle in the epidural does not hurt at all. After they were done and they got me situated in the bed, and they got the epidural in, they did give me that wonderful little button you can press when you feel like you need more of the epidural, and I just kept pressing that button. A nurse then came in to insert the catheter. Let me tell you, that nurse was horrible at this. Not to insult her, not to insult anybody. She tried over 6 times to get that catheter in, and it was at the point where it was burning and hurting so badly. And then finally she was like, I don't think I can do this, let me get somebody else, which I would have rather her said after the first time. And then the next nurse came in and she got it on the first try, and it didn't hurt at all. Yeah. I remember being able to rest for a few hours after that. I couldn't get myself to sleep any though. That was a big thing. I did not sleep at all that entire day. I remember at one point so many of our family members were there. Like literally this room had like 15 people in it, and I can barely remember why anybody was there, when they got there. All I know is that it was dark outside at that point, and there was a lot of people in the room while I was just kind of drugged up, and I think I was watching TV. I was just trying to do something to distract myself. I wasn't talking very much. The nurses still came in during this time, and I would get checked for dilation, things like that. They'd go over the basic things that they check. After a while, they decided, or like the doctor that was there at the time decided that I could use some Pitocin to help speed up the labor. My labor was slowing down, which I guess does happen when you can get the epidural, is that your labor might slow down, especially if you're getting induced. I got the Pitocin right before a bunch of our family members left. I don't remember the time of it, but I do remember as they were about to walk out the door, I felt like I was going to throw up everywhere from all of just the drugs that were in my body. And literally as one of the groups left, I just yelled, like, I'm going to be sick. And they grabbed me a little pail, and I threw up, which is so surprising because you hadn't eaten since the night before. So there was literally nothing in your stomach except water. So I was throwing up water like from ice or whatever I had that day, and that's all I threw up. After I got the Pitocin, I did start dilating very quickly. I started noticing a lot of lower back pressure and like lower back pain. And at one point when he starts like actually getting to like the birth canal, it feels like you have to use the bathroom. I was convinced I had to use the bathroom, and I just literally wanted everyone out of the room except my mom. Even Phil, he got kicked out, he was gone. And I felt like in my body, all my muscles in my stomach were starting to push on their own. Like they completely were pushing on their own. At that point, right before that is when the nurse came in and checked me after I got sick, after everyone left. Right, a couple hours later, a nurse came in, she checked me, and I did go from 6 centimeters to 10 centimeters dilated in just a couple hours. So the Pitocin made me jump really fast, and they're like, alright, you're going to have a baby. That's when I started getting back pain and back pressure, and my stomach started to push completely on its own. I also started to notice when my body started pushing on its own that I was starting to feel the pain from the contractions again. So I was pressing the button to the epidural, but it wasn't working. I wasn't getting any medicine for the pain that I was having from the contractions. I want to say it was around midnight when they checked me last, and I was at 10 centimeters, maybe like right after midnight. My water, you could tell, I could feel it was starting to leak out after that. My water started kind of breaking. I don't know if it fully broke or if it was kind of broke, but I could feel like leaking coming out onto the bed. After my body started pushing on its own, they did mention that they had to call my doctor first, who was at home sleeping because he thought I was going to make it until the morning before it was time to push. I told them, I'm like, I don't know if I can keep this baby in here before he gets here. They did start getting everything set up for me to deliver Jax. They got my legs up and situated. There are so many parts to me that are a blur from, I think, being tired and in pain and just being on the drugs. I don't really remember a whole lot. That doesn't mean if you're someone who chose an epidural or wants to choose an epidural, that doesn't mean that you're going to have blackouts or anything. To me, I wasn't fully paying attention to everything around me because I was in pain. I don't honestly remember if I started to push before my doctor got there. I honestly don't know if someone else had me start doing it or they just had me wait until he got there. What I do remember is at one point he was there, ready to go, and he had been like, I thought you were going to make it till the morning, so I was sleeping. My bad. Like, they gave me Pitocin, and it sped up the labor. I also honestly have no clue how long I was pushing for. I think it's just mainly because I wasn't paying attention to times at this point. I knew it was late night, early morning. That's pretty much all I knew. I just don't know exact times except for when he was born. So I have no idea how long I was pushing for, honestly. So when it was time for me to start pushing, besides my body trying to push on its own, that's when things started getting a little crazy. My epidural still wasn't working in terms of I can still feel every contraction I was having, but I could not feel anything down there. So down everything, vagina area was still completely numb, completely, but my contractions were not. So when Jax actually was born, I only felt the pressure of him coming out. I did not feel the pain of it. I remember the whole time I'm pushing, my mouth was completely dry, my nose was completely stuffed up because I do have allergies, or I hadn't taken any allergy medicine since that morning. I could not breathe through my nose at all. Completely stuffed up. I'm laying flat on my back, so my mouth was completely dry because I could barely breathe. So I'm telling them I can't breathe, but they took it as like I couldn't breathe, so they put an oxygen mask on me, and I'm like, that's not what I meant. But I couldn't explain it in the moment, so I was like, whatever. So Phil was on next to me, and he had like a wet rag that he was putting in some water, and he was putting it in my mouth for me, so I could kind of suck some water off so my mouth wasn't so dry. I was pushing and pushing, and when he was finally getting close to being born, they noticed that Jax' head wasn't just coming out, it was his head plus his arm up like this. So his hand basically came out waving first, and he traveled down the whole birth canal like that. I know at one point they tried to use, I think, forceps, and they tried to use a suction on his head to help him come out. The arm, I think, is making him stuck, like he couldn't come out as easily as if that arm wasn't there. My doctor at that point decided that he knew there was someone else there that night at the labor and delivery that had handled this situation before, because I appreciate this because, not that I don't think my doctor didn't trust himself, but he knew that someone else could handle the situation better than he could. My doctor was younger. So he went to go grab this older male doctor that had, I think, like 2 or 3 student doctors with him that he was kind of showing around the labor and delivery that night and helping them out. So him and his student doctors did come into the room to help assist getting Jax out. At one point there was literally 5 doctors just staring at my vagina trying to get this baby out. Luckily, the older doctor had dealt with this situation before, so he knew pretty much exactly what to do. He did perform an episiotomy, which is when you do have to you basically control where the cuts are. If, like, the opening, and you control where there's cuts so the baby can come out easier versus you tearing. I'm not exactly sure how many cuts in total he made. I never asked. No one told me, and it wasn't really like a topic of discussion. I just know that I had inner stitches and outer stitches, which luckily everything healed amazing, so thank you to that doctor. After he did make the cuts, I did do a few more pushes. I think they might have had to use a suction a little bit again as well, and then Jax was born. They laid him onto my chest. I was so out of it. Like, I could barely show any emotion because I was just so out of it. But I saw him, and I feel like on the inside I was crying, but it just was not coming out on the outside. He wasn't crying at first, so they did take him away to get him checked. He was about 41 weeks. I think he did have a little bit of fluid in him. They had to get him cleaned up, aired out. I think he did poop inside his sac before he came out because he was almost 41 weeks. And once you go over 40 weeks, a lot of babies do that before they're born. So they wanted to make sure he didn't have, signs of an infection or anything. I was asking if he was okay, and then he started to cry, so I had the feeling that he was okay. Philip did go over to hold him once he was wrapped up because they weren't letting me hold him yet because they were kind of working on fixing everything down there. I started crying because they weren't actually letting me hold Jax yet. They weren't letting me hold my baby because the doctor saw this as an opportunity to show the student doctors, which is okay, that how to properly stitch this type of birth and when it happens. So they were all down there, light on my vagina, and they were just doing their little stitching thing, and it was taking over, I don't even know how long it was taking. I swear it was 30 plus minutes for them to do this. I don't know the time frame, honestly. All I know is that I wanted to hold my baby. I was crying because I wasn't holding my baby, and I was getting upset. So he was showing his student doctors how to properly stitch the cuts that he performed, basically. He had to give me, when you do give birth, even if you have an epidural, they do give you a numbing shot if they have to give you stitches or anything down there. So he had to give me that numbing shot basically 3+ times, because that's how long he was taking to do it. And they were finally done, and I'm still very appreciative of him, because I mean, I'm glad those student doctors had the chance to view this, because then they can help someone later on, because this does happen when babies are born. But I'm still mad that I really wanted to hold my baby. When they were finally done, I did get to hold Jax skin to skin for I think at least an hour. It was amazing. His right arm was completely stuck up next to his head. So he was laying on me like this. Because his arm just wasn't ready to go down yet because it was stuck up there for a little while. So I did get to sit with him for a while. Then after 3 a.m. I think is when our moms finally went home. They had been there the entire day, so I think they were ready to go home and get some sleep now that they met Jax. A nurse then came in to try to help me stand up, since they had taken the epidural out and the catheter out and everything. They help you stand up, I guess, to see if you have to use the bathroom. It literally felt like all of my organs were going to fall out of me. I don't know if that's TMI, if any of the story is TMI, but I started standing up and I told her, I'm like, I feel like everything's going to fall out. So she put something on the floor in case she felt like I was going to leak anything onto the floor. So I was standing up, and I'm sorry if this is TMI, but it felt like air just went like this. I feel like anyone who has given a vaginal birth knows kind of what I'm talking about, that feeling where it's just like, yeah, baby just came out of there. So I'm standing up, and I'm like, whoa, this feels so weird. So she kind of helps me stand up, and I walk a little bit, and I don't have to pee or anything. So they finally bring a wheelchair and they start getting everything together so we can move to the room we're actually going to be staying in. When we finally got to our room, we were exhausted. Well, I think I was more exhausted, but Phil was exhausted too, even though he didn't nap like the entire day. Everything did go pretty smoothly the rest of the hospital stay. So I am very thankful for that doctor, because he basically saved my vagina, because I have heard horror stories of moms who have had this birth and they just tore it completely. They have to go see like a specialist, get like reconstruct everything. So I'm very thankful for this doctor who did basically save my vagina. So thank you. I don't even know his name. I didn't even get to hear it. But thank you. And I am also thankful for my doctor for recognizing that he can admit that he was not comfortable handling that situation, and he wanted to go and get another doctor who he knew could handle it better than he could. Alright, so that is my labor and delivery story with Jax. So that is my experience with a vaginal birth. It did not go very well. Very thankful for the outcome though. I would have loved to have another experience with a vaginal birth. I think another kid I could have one. They have VBACs, there's possibilities. So I would love to have another chance to have a vaginal birth at some point so I can experience it. And now I know what to prepare myself for and to see how that experience would go that time around. I am excited to film a labor and delivery story once Sage is born so I can... Hi. Huggies, come here. He wants huggies. Hi. My baby want huggies? He wants huggies. So that is my... Come here. Oh, not the chair. He's in the door. Alright. Alright, so that is my labor and delivery story with, I don't even know if you can see him, with this little one right here who's now 4. I am excited to do one with Sage since he will be born most likely a different way than the way he was born. So I'm glad I was able to kind of give a perspective on each birth, and when I get to do his, I think it'll be a completely different story. Alright, so like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more videos, more updates on baby Sage, as well as a labor and delivery story from baby Sage, as well as a labor and delivery vlog. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to film at this hospital. I think they're pretty strict during the birth process about filming, but you can do pictures, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see when the time comes, but hopefully I'll be able to get a good vlog up for when Sage is born and he's moving the camera. So thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my other videos. I will have my pregnancy updates, my latest ones, linked down below. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.